Hey guys. Um, every time I come here and I know what I'm gonna say, but then I go blank. It's it's the starting. Look at I got this Batman coat. It's just a light jacket. It's really cool. Um, I was really blessed. I was at the store over the weekend, I think, and I my bill was like $80 almost, and I took out the money to pay, and the lady stepped up in line and offered to pay for it. So actually, this coat was free, and I thank Hashem first and foremost. But it was really cool because I was willing and prepared to pay for it along with some other presents. But it ended up being a blessing, and so that's why I'm wearing it today, especially to pay homage, as they say, homage, homage. Mm-hmm. Anyway, my mood is fluctuating today, so bear with me. I always get a little bit shy about um, sharing the more personal things that I wrote over the last year and a half. It makes me really nervous because I don't know if anybody's interested in hearing it, but I always come here and talk about how my journey and my soul purpose and my search for God was one that was taking place not long before, but uh, side by side with my journey of listening to the music and everything. And then the music led me to God and so forth. And they just, they were symbiotic to each other. So I just thought I would start off by reading something, but I wanted to say something, and that's where I was stuck in thought when it came on live. Was um, again, I want to refer to the show I Survived. I used to watch that show, and they would tell these stories, and they would kind of look off in the distance of the camera, like they were talking to somebody else, and they would just tell the story. And I wish that I could come here and do that and make you guys understand how intense the telepathy style information and the visions and dreams and basically the hand doing these things behind me, like it's intense. And I always understand there's people that are going to call me crazy, but I know that I'm not, and I do all the research. And it's always the crazy people that are talked about in generations after, so I'll be crazy. Yeah, I'll be crazy. It's in last December, right? Go listen to it. Last December. Not last December. Last December is on the Rainbow Children CD, but then there's the other one last December that he did in the 90s with the big hat, unless I'm getting my songs mixed up. Anyway, I haven't had enough coffee today. I don't have any sitting beside me to slurp, so I'm slow. I'm just going to start. No, I wanted to say this. Before I opened up this live, this is what I was trying to do. I'm pretty sure it was April 21st of 2020. And it was on Facebook. There was a website on Facebook, and it was either People of Paisley Park or Paisley Park homepage or whatever it was. I'm not sure. Um, and if you guys know what it was, maybe you can point me towards it, or I'll find it later. Um, on that day, I was led to watch this video that was on, and it was either 421 or 67. Excuse me, it was either 421 of 2020 or 67 of 2020. I can't remember which. It was for the passing or the birthday. So, but on that day, and I'm pretty sure it was 421, there was the guy who does the walkthroughs. I can't remember his name. Everybody will know who that has been there on the tours. He did the tour. And anyway, they stood there. The Paisley Park white floor, where the big symbol is, it lit up. It had different lights and different things coming up out of it. Look it up. Now, what I wanted to say about that was that on that day, I was led to watch that video. And while I was watching it, had been listening to When We're Dancing Close and Slow. I'm pretty sure that was the song. And that was the song that was playing in that video, where the white floor at Paisley Park with the symbol on it was lighting up. So when I was watching that and I was in that trance, I was tripping. So right before I came here and started the video and didn't know what to say, that's what I was thinking about. So I'm going to go find that, or you guys can go look for it, and you'll hear that the tour guide and the girl who's talking about the doves, they did a tour through Paisley Park, but right at the very beginning, there's that situation that I'm talking about. And when We're Dancing Close and Slow is playing, and I was listening to it at the same time. So this whole telepathy type thing was going on, and it was a trip. Anyway, I have my little book, this cool picture I found online when I first found it. it reminded me of a Christ, Prince chest type thing. So I put it on the front of the book, and it's really cool. And then it says King David, and so that's what's on the front of this book. I have to skip around a little bit, you guys, because as I do these, like I did this in I think May of 2020, and even I don't know what I'm going to read or say. So if I find some stuff that I'm just not willing to say, I'll just skim right past it. But I was talking about how the music had led me towards my Bible, and how when I would read things in the Bible, it would make me hear a Prince song, and it just was bouncing back and forth. And so it says, stop right there. I just read, and that when I did the mathematics, when I did the lineage in the Bible, where it says how long Adam lived and the lineage and so forth, I did the mathematics on that in 2013. And when I did that, the total, and I can't tell you exactly how right now, came out to 777. Back then in 2013, which was my first purple time, when all these telepathy type things started happening, but not in the major way that they did in 2020. It was like a little tappy tap on my brain that I unfortunately ignored and went in the other direction. Pardon me. I mean, just with my choices and whatever, I can go way off track, but I just didn't listen the way I should or something. I'm not sure. Anyway, I will come back to this. I wondered to myself what exactly Cain brought and what Abel brought for sacrifice. First flock, first fruits. Was it an animal, vegetation, or an actual firstborn child? I don't know how that thought goes over with Hashem, but my point is that when I read, I really read. I wanted to know, my deepest desire was to understand why. I told you when I passed away and I was in the heavenly places, or space as it is, that my deepest desire was for the truth. And so it was just to understand why. Much like that pestering 3-year-old asking why for everything you have an answer to. And then sometimes my writing is really sloppy, so bear with me. With as much diligence as at any given moment in time allowed. Like, I've been a single mom my whole life and working and everything, so I'm saying that every time I would sit down to read and ponder, I would do it with diligence. I've had this same Bible since 1999. I also began to get input from other areas of my brain, the little voice, the conscience, the tickle in my ears, mostly my right ear. I've always called it getting pieces of a puzzle. It's like I get all one puzzle piece over here and one puzzle piece over there, but yet in somewhere in my mind, I can still see the whole puzzle, but it's never really the whole puzzle. Fun, right? And then I come here and try to explain it to you guys. Puzzle pieces. But what I mean by that too is I don't have to look very hard for the information. So even though I study all the files and do all the information, like I said, I could never do all that by myself. Hashem, the creator, the one, he helps me. You guys will see if you listen to enough videos. I can't just sit here and be full of information on my own. It doesn't work that way. One might think that it takes many, many hours to learn such things, but when the information flows, one thing just flows into another. See, I wrote it in the book and I didn't even know what I was going to read. The pieces are given very, very quickly, and it's like the ocean waves caressing your brain and your physical heart at the same time. Oftentimes, the heat that builds up in the stomach around the navel will get very intense as well. I was trying to edit there and I can't see what I was writing. I was writing that even though I would call, like, lately I've been learning Judaism and for the last year and a half and stuff, and there's no Jesus in that. And so before that, I believed in Jesus and all that, and I would use the word Jesus and so forth, and various names. But every time I would pray, I'd be like, man, I know I'm probably saying the wrong name. Not man to God, but sometimes. Anyway, I would say I know I might be saying the wrong name, but you know my heart. You know what's in my heart. So, if you're going to shame me for what's in my heart for saying the wrong name, then that's really not, I mean, I understand there's rules and I have respect and great, great reverence and fear, healthy fear and awe of the Creator. But what I was saying is that, well, this is what it says. To me, it was likely that Hashem was looking for a clean heart, a righteous place in each and every person in which to impart his heavenly devotion. Otherwise, why were we here, you and I? Like if we were created and this world is just led to believe that Jesus went and died and is building a place for you some here, but we live in this world the way it is. No, your creator's right here in you, wanting to be in you as your DNA, your divine, holy DNA. That's how your creator lives in you. It's man that created the religions and wants you to follow them. Politics, religion, so forth and so on. DNA is what it's all about. He sang about it enough, you guys. Anyway, in which to impart his heavenly devotion, to be toyed with by centuries of rabbis, pastors, fathers, bishops, first ladies. What is that? You have some people I wrote would say that I have a problem with authority, and I said I have not met a godly leader in my life except God. So I suspect the men in my life have had some stiff competition. Wow. I never know what I'm going to write. I digress, seriously. So after digesting the foulness of things I didn't know existed in the world, combined with my love and limited knowledge of what God said, I searched. I noticed my neighbor reading her Bible, and she saw me, and our initial conversation led me to find out she identified with the Kingdom Hall folks. I watched some videos with her, went to Kingdom Hall with her, and it was some very strange stuff and uncomfortable. That is why my gut tells me P was never truly a JW. That's what I wrote. That was in 520. There is no one true religion, and to the best of my knowledge, that's their creed. Only they will be saved. No, that's not Hashem's love, unconditional. I felt I really liked how they spread the word of, like, they would supposedly be spreading the word of God, knocking on doors, annoying people, so forth and so on. But anyway, but I said that they were doing weird things and talking about sheaving wheat and misquoting the Bible and changing and using the watchtower pamphlets and all that, and that's not the Bible, and it's definitely not the Torah, definitely not the truth. So I went on to talk about how my neighbor had exiled her own daughter, if I recall, for being divorced, discluded from their church, forced to earn her way back in. I said, no, that's not what my heart told me about God's love. Talks a little bit more about Kingdom Hall and why it's weird. I said I'd always been a nature lover from the time I can remember. Most of it either outside or at school. Those are my thoughts. Having deeply loved nature. I used to go outside and read as a kid and climb up trees and read books and listen to the wind and sing songs and feel like I could move the clouds with my thoughts and like the wind would blow just for me. I'm sure every kid does that, or maybe they don't. I don't know. I had fun doing it. But then in 2013, I had some epiphanies. I had some Chinese lanterns go by in the sky, and then I heard the voice tell me to look up and to start watching up. And then I started watching the clouds and harp and the weather changing and so forth, so on. But here's a reference as to how the Prince music made me think about the Bible when in the song. Can't think of the title. Sitting in the corner of an all-white room, feeling like the color blue, thinking about the words that I can say to get this through to you. A million mistakes and then some I've made with the ones before. It made me think of the book of Daniel at the UN or in Colorado. I can't remember which. They have a meditation room, which is real creepy and evil. And then I write, I believe it was because Daniel was clothed in white and purple also. So that's how I would relate my Bible to the Prince music. So as I studied and sought after God, Prince music kept popping into my head, relating a scripture or lesson to something I was reading. So I'd always listen to the music, and I knew he sang about God a lot, to me more than other things. So because of this, I began meditation around this time, which was 2013. I would put on headphones, my favorite Prince songs, lying on my back in my bedroom, and my mind went to places I don't recall. But I know the music was but it washed my conscience away. Prince could be singing Venus de Milo, Beautiful Ones Adore, Still Would Stand All Time, my favorite, or screaming with the guitar, In This Bed I Scream, and it would make me feel like passed out, like like I was going under anesthesia, and my mind would travel to places where, my body was still on the bed. It's way more intense now, like whoa, intense. Like I feel like somebody could even cut me or something, and I wouldn't even feel it because my mind is so detached when I am able to meditate deeply with him, and he tells me things like that. It's like, I think it's like how they do surgery when people are awake partially. Um, it's a trip, you guys. It's a trip. There's a video of me on here. If you haven't seen it, it's very short. It's a minute, 18 seconds. And it's a very brief showing of how I kind of just get washed over when I'm meditating. I just held the camera up so you guys could see, but it's very brief. I got through life relating the majority of my emotions to Prince songs. To an extent, for instance, when my younger sister committed suicide, which I've talked about, but I had heard Still Would Stand All Time, and I knew that the love I felt oozing from that song was what made me feel love. So even though she requested in her suicide letter to play in the sunshine at her funeral, that's what she wanted, which we respected and we played. It says I knew I wanted to let her and people know there was this greater love out there, which again, at this age, I was 21 when she died. Imagine that, 21. I related to Prince. Funny side note, cassette tapes were the thing in 92, and after Still Would Stand All Time played, into the intercom came the song, Shut Up Already, Damn. And that part got out before the funeral director had a chance to cut it off. So we still have a good chuckle about that after all these years. It was beautiful. We dropped rose petals and I think daisies. That's what spring wanted, which is truly interesting. I didn't remember that till just now, but we talked about the daisy connection on yesterday's video with the programming. So that's truly interesting. Her best friend, Tiffany, shout out Tiffany, released doves, 2 white doves, rose petals, and daisies. Anyway, my point was that the music, Another Lonely Christmas, I don't know how many nights I fell asleep with my ear next to whatever speaker I had, floor model at this time. I basically blacked out listening to the music, crying. It saved me. Like I said, it saved me and it soothed me, and it's seared into my conscience, with the meditation and the crying and being there with me my whole life, in the car, in the clubs, and the just everywhere. I go on to explain some personal stuff there, and that's just I just wanted to share that with you guys. I hope you don't find it too boring. To let you know that, I don't know. I get some nice compliments that people can say. They say that they know that they can tell that I'm real, and I'm not trying to come here and be something I'm not. And I'm just trying to share goodness and light and bring you guys to look for your creator. As well as teach you about all this, and because it's what's been done for me. So I just am trying to share some more personal stuff so that you can understand me, I guess, a little bit better, and how I'm able to come here and sit and say these things, no matter how they sound. That right there, that's my Rav Drawer, YouTube. Check him out. He's on Facebook, YouTube, all the platforms. He is the most. You guys, this is just something I write to keep myself going so I don't forget. But I want to say a couple things on this. I'm going to jump to the investigation now. There's some websites out there. Connect the Purple Dots, the Vanessa, what's her name? Vanessa Bartholomew. Like, I'm not knocking anybody. I'm saying I very rarely have time to go look at anybody's websites or do anything. I have way too much work to do. But I did look at them at first to find out. I wanted to help. I wanted to see what I could do to help the situation. But then I realized that what they were talking about and reporting on and doing seemed to be not in alignment with what I'm trying to do. It seems, and all I wanted to say about that, you guys, was that, well, I can say with the utmost clarity and knowledge that when you come here and watch these videos, you are going to get the complete truth, and it's going to be divine truth, as I mentioned in the header there. And I'm not, again, please understand, I'm not putting anybody down. I just think that some of those channels are very, very misleading. And they talk about a lot of things that really don't matter, like just for a very, very long time. And I think that what I'm saying is that it's contributing to the confusion instead of clarifying the confusion surrounding the case. And what I want to say and keep trying to peck away at myself is the fact that this case is several cases in one, you guys. For instance, when you go and you look at the 214 pages that are available on the Carver County website, the ICR numbers, which is how they keep track of the files, there's 1, 2, 3 file numbers right off rip. Okay. What I did, because I've studied them all so long and have them all broke down, you can see, and I shared this on my Pride Piper website on Facebook. It's called Pride Piper. It's on Facebook. I know it's shameless, but you guys got to start listening to the truth and sharing it. Anyway, I have it broke down by what the ICR numbers, the page numbers, so that if you want to find some information quickly, you'll know what pages they're on, and it's all in order and by file number. So it's very, very handy dandy information, and it won't make you hop all over the place. That's how much I love. And I'm not trying to keep the information to myself, and I'm not trying to twist you and turn you, because I know now that I remember now that our Creator told me that this was going to be my job and my sole purpose. And again, I talk about it all the time. So I'm trying to do it with more confidence, and not, I look at some of the videos that I made way back when, and I just was apologizing every third word for how crazy I sounded. And that must have sounded crazy. So I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to be grateful, and hopefully that'll start to shine, and you guys will share the videos. And I need some new places to share them. We need to find a place to spread this truth. Anyway, you guys, I was thinking today about a bunch of the main things, like what can I do to make you see after all these things that I'm doing. And I thought we could talk about some of the witnesses, because the media always reports on the same thing, that Kornfield came to save at last minute and he was dead in the elevator, and this, blah, blah, blah. The whole big lie. We all know it by now. But amongst all the other stuff that I've come here and talked to you about is I want to talk to you about body doubles. 70% of the phone calls that were made, you guys, 70% of the phone calls from 3/22, which is the day after Christ Remembrance for the Kingdom Hall, folks. They do a Christ Remembrance on March, or I think maybe that's the 23rd. March 23rd or 21st, I'm not sure. They do a remembrance for Christ every year. And so I found it interesting that 70% of the phone calls from 3/22 of 2016 to 4/21 of 2016 were to Natalia Phillips. I spoke about her before, and today I looked her up again. She has on her model portfolio, she has herself listed as, I have her right here. One moment. These hands are dry. Dang it. She's the one that lists print work for Piano and a Microphone tour. She lists video work for 3121 on Musicology. She's listed as a singer, songwriter, actress. Her father is Alan Phillips, music producer. Like I said, Piano and a Microphone print work, 3121 video, and a few others. Now, Natalia Phillips, I believe, and what I'm saying is that I believe, because 70% of the phone calls being made to and from Paisley Park were to somebody who sings, dances, writes music, plays ping pong, does a lot of the same things that you would need a Prince lookalike to do, because they knew what they were planning and they knew what they were doing a long, long time ago. So I just wanted to point some things out and hammer them home. You have her emails on 4/26 and 10/51 on 4/21 saying, asking to talk and are you okay? I miss you. Those emails they don't mention on the other part of the file. So that's where we're talking about Prince, not Prince Rogers Nelson. 70% of those calls, you guys. 28 times the pharmacist Andrew Reinholtz calls Paisley Park on 4/21. 28 times. They wrote him off as a super fan. I know I've talked about it before, but again, I'm just touching on some things. How are you going to take a pharmacist that's from New York and allow him to call Paisley Park 28 times on 4/21 and write him off as a super fan? Not to mention, when you look through the photos, that there's a set of keys in the photos out there online, and it has a New York tag on it, keychain tag. Just saying, I'm just putting some puzzle pieces together. They sell that Kirk went and got those prescriptions for Prince because he was in pain and he was taking all this medicine and was in pain. But what they don't tell you is that Kirk was Dr. Schulenberg's patient for the last 16 years. You guys, what people don't usually stop to put together is when you read the file, you read about how Kirk texted Dr. Schulenberg at 5:45 in the morning on the 7th. Now, what was the 7th? The 7th was the day of the first concerts that were supposed to be in Atlanta or whatever. And so tell me why they're contacting Dr. Schulenberg that morning to try to get fluids and this and that and that. And that's the day that Dr. Schulenberg himself provides transportation to meet Prince at the Highway 7 clinic and takes him into the part of the clinic that wasn't open, I believe, because he had access to Valium, which he did vasectomies with. They said that they administered fluids, but they didn't say what the fluids were, and that's really funked up for part of the file too. We don't get to know what fluids. I mean, there's no doctor files at all, just a couple scribbled notes. Anyway, Schulenberg wrote prescriptions for clonidine and hydroxine and Valium. Pardon me. He wrote for clonidine, hydroxine, and Valium. And he gave the hydroxine and clonidine in the office. That's what's in the files that he gave him in the IV that day. So why was he doing all that the morning of the 7th before he was supposed to go and do a concert, you guys? That's what I'm getting at. I know I'm rambling today because I'm a little unfocused, but I got to looking at the concert times and why. They want you to believe, as you read through the file, that sometimes Phaedra would set up for him to have a vitamin B12 shot before the concerts. Interesting, but we're not to her yet. Anyway, so Dr. Schulenberg, after writing for all those things and doing that in the after-hours clinic and being slapped on the wrist $30,000 for writing for 15 Percocet, he did all this other stuff too. What about that on the same day of the concerts? Okay. The concerts that ended up getting canceled because whatever they had planned with their little drugs and hypnosis and stuff, it didn't work. And so then they called flu, right? Bad guy, flu. You called flu. Okay. So then the next week on the 13th, they last minute, they said that they were going to do the concert on the 14th. That was just a last minute thing. And then they did the whole ticket return and everything like that. But then you guys, why on the 14th, the next day of the next concert, was Kirk contacting Dr. Boo for Tylenol with codeine and Dr. Schulenberg for Percocet the next time there was a concert? Like, is this starting to make sense yet? I mean, it might be redundant, but I'm going to hammer it home for those that haven't seen each and every video. Now, people can say, "Oh, Prince is getting old, tired, blah 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 blah," but also understand the whole media thing is sold that he took all these drugs this whole time because of his pain. But these doctor notes and this whole thing, it was a setup from the beginning. Okay. Listen, you guys, from the time that, like, if you look on Wikipedia, Phaedra, it says under her Wikipedia, for instance, that she came to work for Prince in 2014. Became the manager for Prince in 2014 is what it says. However, Crystal Zehetner, Zehetner, former chef and business person, states that Phaedra, that she that Crystal quit working in 2012 when Phaedra came on because she didn't want to be working for a drug dealer. So I'm wondering why Wikipedia states that Lampkins became the manager for Prince in 2014. And I believe that was for NPG Music Publishing, because that's the name on the file, the court document that she filed in 2016 to make sure she was no longer something to NPG Music Publishing. So she was never the manager for Prince Rogers Nelson. She was manager for the Prince clone, but it's interesting how Wikipedia says that it's 2014 and Crystal tells us that she came on in 2012. More on Phaedra. She is credited on Wikipedia too. Pardon, my nose always itches every time I come down here. She's credited with winning Prince's lifelong battle to secure ownership of his masters. But the fact is, she was a social activist, you guys. She was not a lawyer. You got Rhonda Trotter and Diane Frappier, but Phaedra wasn't a lawyer. So why is she credited for winning back his masters? Because she brought in intellectual property lawyers, Rhonda Trotter, Diane Frappier, because in 2015, Ellis joined Honor Inc. It's a San Francisco-based tech startup that helps people secure in-home health represent. So, okay, I'm sorry. I forgot what I was writing. In 2015, Phaedra, she joined this group, and it's called Honor Inc., and it's a San Francisco-based tech startup that helps people secure in-home health aids, health care. So, you guys, isn't that interesting that Howard Kornfield's San Francisco-based office, the big yellow building that you'll find if you go look it up in Mill Valley, California. Side note on that literature, you guys, on the, that literature they show in the pictures from Recovery Without Walls, that literature in the file is written that literature was found in the Purple Rain room. However, also, as you read through the file, you would find that nobody was supposed to have been in the Purple Rain room with the literature. So there's another little tick that literature was in there. It's in the evidence file. If you look at that, it's in there somewhere. But anyway, so Phaedra does those home health situation. Now, also, if you go on to read how she used to work with Van Jones and the other places, and she filled the big shoes like I talked about on other videos, she's bad. Bad news. Okay? Bad news bears. Theo London, he tells us that after the sheriff's office cleared Paisley Park, cleared the scene, they always say, scene, the day that Prince died. Now, that's the interesting thing about these reports, too. They don't say specific dates. They say officers cleared Paisley Park the day that Prince died. Like, they leave it open book. That's not leaving every stone unturned, Jim Olson. Anyway, Theo testified that after the officers cleared Paisley Park the day Prince died, Kirk Johnson was there with Phaedra and attorney Frappier talking about cleaning something on the rug. Now, that's on note 334 of the last file number, 160125559. That's 334, where it talks about them talking about cleaning something up on the rug. Kirk Johnson was concerned with the entry hallway past the staircase that goes upstairs prior to the elevator. Let's hear that again. Kirk Johnson was concerned, especially with the entry hallway past the staircase that goes upstairs and prior to the elevator. So there was a rug that was in the space prior to the elevator, not in the elevator, not dragging Prince out of the elevator, not finding Prince on the rug, and certainly not where the term lie like a rug comes from. Phaedra was talking about locking down Paisley Park and cleaning up rooms. This is from Theo London. They discussed who was the last one on Prince's computer. So it was Theo London, Phaedra, Kirk talking, and then Kirk Johnson gave the password to Phaedra as Peter Bravestrong. So if Phaedra and Kirk, and probably Marone was there too, who knows, and Theo were standing there talking there, and Theo said that he bought the computer while they were in Kirk's and Caicos Turks and Caicos. And yes, I do know that I said Jeevel Enyas yesterday on the video, and same with Newish Jew Year. Sometimes it happens when you're saying all the words, but boy, is it funny when I watch the videos back. Anyway, so they're all sitting there with the password of Peter Bravestrong, and then they want us to believe that that was the the pseudonym for traveling, for all the privacy that Prince wanted. Anyway, so they all had access to the same computer, you guys. He also overheard that Phaedra was talking about going to the bank to pay bills the very next day. So if Prince died and it was all this tragic stuff and the police cleared the scene, why were they cleaning carpets, cleaning rooms, shredding documents, and paying bills the next day? Golly gee, I wonder. Mariah Brown, former assistant and chef, if I'm not mistaken, because, when you're needed as an Autobot type person, they just put you right in there wherever you need. Most of the girls, Mariah Brown and them, they're former models too, just so you know. Stated when Phaedra implemented 1099s instead of W-2s, it screwed her out of her taxes, and she filed suit. For those of you that aren't listening, let's hear that again. Mariah Brown, who called Phaedra manipulative and not my favorite, and that she had shady character, Mariah Brown was getting paid in in W-2s, making the most of her tax situation. However, when Phaedra came on and started paying everybody in 1099, that's about the same time that the other young assistant was told that she had to buy everything for Prince with cash, and then that he would give her lump sum. It might have even been her at the end of that year, whatever it was. So she ended up owing about $100,000 in taxes as a self-employed person. So she blames Phaedra for that and has filed suit. So yeah. And then Kieran Shaw had this to say about Phaedra. If Prince was getting money for drugs, the money withdrawals would have had to go through Phaedra as petty cash. Though Prince was known to have didn't carry money because he didn't have pockets, as Chris Gaither told us when he was talking about Prince. So we all know that you don't wear clothing with pockets, you don't carry cash, you don't carry cards, and blah, 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 and so on. And yet they sell us on all those media pictures with all the bags laying around with cash in them and drugs and cash and drugs and cash. Yeah, it's a setup, you guys, to distract you from the real truth. But I'm here to tell you that the whole truth brings us back to the Creator. This PI mystery, Prince investigation, Magnum PI, Magpie, it all goes together, you guys. The fact that Kirk was seeking Percocet and Suboxone, it's super funny, you guys. Right here on my little drawing board, I wrote Percocet and Suboxone, Jonestown cocktail, Kool-Aid. Hey, hey, hey. Kool-Aid. Look at the word Kool-Aid. We know the song. Cool. We do. Okay. Anyway, look at Kool-Aid. What does it have at the end? ID or 19? Or aid, AI, AID. Or shwoop, if you turn it upside down, pie. Kool-Aid. That did say Kool-Aid. That was a K. This is Koolaid. Kool-Aid. But look, if you turn it upside down, what do you see? Pie. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't drink the Jonestown cocktail that killed Whitney and everybody else, that's consisting of Percocet and Suboxone. Andrew Kornfield brought Suboxone. Kirk got Percocet. We could go on. I'm going to share with you guys a little bit, not too long here. I thought it might be kind of fun to read some of Kornfield's testimony, because you guys, I come here and I mess around and, I'm kind of sarcastic about something that is very, very meaningful. But it's just who I am. So you should see me when you're not watching. Andrew Kornfield was interviewed by Patrick Murphy, or Pat Murphy, as it says. And there's some really interesting conversations going on in here. As I mentioned yesterday, well, not yesterday, but scratch that. When you're reading through this testimony, which is, golly, it's a lot of pages. 29 pages of testimony. It is file number 160-12559 between Pat Murphy and Kornfield. The first couple of pages are very random. He misquotes the time, gets a cell number, etc. Now, this is when he says, all right, so for the recording today's date is 4/21/2016, and the time now is 10:54, and I'm meeting with Andrew, and I don't yet have a file number on this, but it is regarding a death investigation. Do you prefer Andrew or Andy or what? Blah, blah, blah. And then they go through the spelling and yada, yada, yada. This is what's interesting here on page 3. And he says, and a cell phone number for you, and he gives it to him and it's blacked out. And then the next thing Patrick Murphy says is, do you have email or anything else like that if you're not available on your cell? And Andrew says, yeah, blankety blank blank, and they have it marked out. No dots, no dashes, and capitals don't matter. Patrick says, yeah, that's kind of my default is ... and then it's cut off. So why is Patrick giving Andrew Kornfield his default? Anyway, Patrick says, okay, I have to put my glasses on, talks to Wags, who is Wagner in the background, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so you came to Minnesota for what reason? Page 4. So I was in California last night. Okay. And Prince's people were in touch with our medical practice. Now, if Patrick Murphy was interviewing Andrew Kornfield, who clearly is not a doctor and hasn't even been to medical school nor taken his exams and is just a millennial working a paraprofessionals LLC out of his home, then why would the answer be he was in touch with our medical practice twice? Okay, and what medical practice is that? It's called Recovery Without Walls. Okay, and what do you guys specialize in? So Patrick just asked him what you guys specialize in. So if you specialize in, if you're talking to Andrew, what do you guys specialize in? Okay. He said, specialize in pain management. So if Andrew's answering, he's telling him we specialize in pain management. However, when you look, addiction medicine and mood disorders, yada, yada, yada. And then he says, okay, I was sent by my dad. Excuse me. He said, I don't know that many specifics about Prince's case. I was just going to ask him a couple of things. I was sent by my dad to kind of talk to him and see if our practice would be appropriate. Okay. For Prince. And just so that I understand, when you reference your dad, is your dad a doctor at the facility? Yeah. So this is my dad right there. Oops. Yeah. He never talked to Prince. Okay. Yeah. So like he was sending you as a representative to come out here, and yeah, he couldn't come out. Okay. To see whether or not Prince qualified for your program, blah, blah, blah. Now listen, you guys, this is important. He says, was Prince aware that you guys were going to come out here? Do you know, Patrick Murphy is asking, do you know, was Prince aware that you guys were going to come out here? Not you, Andrew, not you, but you guys were going to come out here. Was this kind of an intervention thing, or what did you think the purpose was before you even got to the door? And he says, to be honest, I don't know. Okay, Patrick says, I don't know the answer to that question because Kirk and the girl, they wanted to give him a lot of privacy. Now, why do Kirk and the girl want to give him a lot of privacy if they were in a big, big rush to get back there and save his life? Just contemplating with you guys, just like you. And also, I don't know what kind of millennial named Andrew that would call Marone the girl. Like, no, that's something an old Howard Kornfield would say, the girl. So what I'm getting at is I think as this interview goes on, that they're interviewing both of them, and then they cut and splice the answers depending on what the question is. But they wanted to give him his privacy. So I just went to my hotel and we met together, and they were concerned about him because they hadn't heard from him. And I was I kind of encouraged them to check on him. So Andrew or Howard is telling us that they encouraged them to check on them. And we also know that he leisurely reported that he had lunch with them after checking into the hotel at 8:45, which is what the records state. So you can hear how it's all just a little bit twisted, right? They don't tell you about that in People magazine, do they? Not APR, not NPR, not North, East, South, West. So then I want the other thing is he said, so you were in at 6 a.m. this morning? Yeah, I was in at 6 a.m. this morning, so I'm a little tired, obviously. Yep, well, I can understand that. Do you remember when you left your hotel to come out here? Did you come straight out from the airport? So I got a car. They called some car for me to be in the hotel. I talked with them. We met at the hotel. Kirk and I'm forgetting the girl's name. So what I'm getting at is they go on to discuss how hard the girl's name is to remember, whether they're talking about Marone or Phaedra, et cetera, et cetera. And the conversation fluctuates between Howard and Andrew, and it's very, very obvious. And then remember how I told you yesterday in the videos that there's memory lapses because they're like Autobot persons or whatever. Page 8, Patrick is saying, okay. And then Andrew says, with Marone, this is the first time I've met them. Patrick says, yep, it's okay. And I think I'm just having a few memory issues. No, and it's, this isn't to create stress on that end. Yeah, no. I'm okay. And I struggle with the names every once in a while too. So that was Patrick Murphy telling Andrew that he struggles with the names too. So dig this. Yeah, Andrew says. Patrick says, especially if it's brand. Kirk really stuck in my memory, in my head. So Patrick says, yep, but brand new people, yeah. And you noticed when I met her, I had to ask her name a couple times to make sure that I was pronouncing it the right way. Andrew says, yeah. And then, they were looking a little nervous, and then they went to check and go look for him. And then I heard a scream. I just decided, okay, I'm just going to run in there. And I dialed 9. I saw him on the ground and I dialed 911. I didn't know the name of where we were. So that was kind of hard. Now, I read that just like they write it. I've read to kids and grandkids for a long time. I can't help it. I read with enthusiasm, and I hope you appreciate it. Anyway, what I wanted to say, you guys, was that on the Good Samaritan, little Good Samaritan award that they had Andrew Kornfield getting off the hook with, they shouldn't have been doing that because, as he just stated, or someone, Howard or Andrew, that they were looking a little nervous. He's talking about Marone and Kirk. They were looking a little nervous, and then they went to go check because he stated in the other testimony that Kirk went to go look for him, that he and Marone were in there for about 10 minutes, that he came back, got Marone left, and then he heard a scream. That's when he said he went to go run in there and look. Now, the Good Samaritan Minnesota statute for the Good Samaritan states that the person seeks medical assistance for another person who is in the need of medical assistance for an immediate health or safety concern. Listen, provided that the person who seeks the medical assistance, Andrew, is the first person to seek the assistance, provides a name and contact information, remains on the scene until assistance arrived, and is provided and cooperates with the authorities, etc. Now, he wasn't the first one. Kirk and Marone were there. That means he doesn't know what happened, and that it was an unwitnessed death. Does he know it was an overdose or who did it, or suicide, or whatever it was? No. My point is, he shouldn't be qualifying for the Good Samaritan overdose assistance for any of it. The other thing, you guys, is too, they talk about this immunity from prosecution for anyone who experiences a drug-related overdose and needs medical assistance, yada, yada, yada. If they have paraphernalia on them, it can be dropped if they cooperate with the authorities and so forth. It's really not meant for this type of situation at all, but they just figured they get that little curveball in there because most people don't pay attention. No stone unturned, we're rolling rocks away here. We're not just kicking over stones. Get it? Rolling the rock away. Well, this goes on and on and on, but the fact is that Kornfield goes on to say that he got there and he looked dead. He could tell he was dead, and that's when he decided not to do CPR. And then he said, that's where I saw him. He said, where did you guys find him? He said, in the elevator. In the elevator itself? In the elevator itself. That's where I saw him. Do you remember which room the elevator was or which floor the elevator was on? I was on the floor that we were on. Now, it sounded to me, reading the testimony earlier, that he was left in the conference room down the hall from the elevator in which Dan Peipenbring was left in the Beautiful Ones book. And Andrew just said that the elevator was on the floor that we were on. So that would mean that it was up on the second floor and then they moved it down to the first floor. So anyway, it said he was on the right side of the elevator, on his side. Do you remember on which side he was lying? Yep, left side. I mean, I think so, yeah. You see a dead body, it's Prince, and golly, I just can't remember how he looked. Did it look like he just collapsed there? Or when you first saw him, did it look like it was a contorted body position? Or did it look like he was just laying there? Looked like he collapsed and he was a little contorted, Okay, anything, Andrew says, but his body was a little, Patrick pushes in, so laying on his left side. Andrew says, it almost looks like maybe, what if he just laid down and kind of went to sleep? That's maybe what it looks like almost. That's what he said. So did you notice any trauma, any blood coming from anywhere, any fluids that you noticed? No, blah, blah, blah. Now, listen to what Patrick Murphy says, you guys. After Andrew said he looked dead. Patrick says, okay, it doesn't sound like they gave you a lot of history, but, obviously your dad's facility, helps recovering addicts. Did they give you any of the backstory of why they wanted you to come out and visit with him other than to see if the program would fit him? I mean, did they talk to you about what he was struggling with, what he was using, what he was doing? Andrew says I think we like to keep things, really private. I think nobody has a damn answer. And I'm sick of it. Probably a drug issue. That's what I inferred. So you got people just willy-nilly around Paisley Park inferring that they were flown in on a red eye and they brought drugs with them, Suboxone, Valium, suppositories, so make sure you don't throw up, and they're pre-med. So anyway, I just, wanted to come here and make another video. Get it off my chest. I have a lot of words and a lot of things I want to share. Some days it's hard. Some days it's easy. I'm glad that you guys are watching and listening. This is, it's a big deal. It's hard to get through all the time. Sometimes I feel like sleeping every day. I hear voices telling me to pray more. I just want to make the world a better place. And if I can come here and continue to teach about this holy funk scripture that I've been given, how it relates to Prince Rogers Nelson. I obviously can't fit everything into one video. There's a lot to go through, you guys. I'm pushing myself to be here because I'm tired. I'm happy to be here. Make no mistake. I'm dragging a little bit on this fine palindrome day, which And actually spelled 1777, which is kind of got me feeling on edge, I think, actually. But a lot of times I feel things and then I just push them away so that I don't have to feel them. And oftentimes they end up being nothing. So I don't want to waste energy thinking bad thoughts. But today does reflect 1777, both forward and backwards, which is after 1776, which is taking away our independence. So it leaves me feeling heavy, to say the least. And each day that passes by, I keep feeling something coming closer and closer. And I pray that Hashem has mercy on us and that you guys take what I'm seeing and doing as very serious, even though I'm a big goofball most of the time. I love you most and more. Thank you for watching. I'll be back.